This is just not detecting it for some
There we go.
Oh, turn volume up higher.
Yeah,
Yep, we're good.
all right. Yay. Good. Yeah, no, we don't have to. We don't have it. We don't have to anymore. You ready, Lisa?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Sorry for the delay, folks, and welcome to the August meeting of the Inland Wetlands Watercourse Commission. First thing we're going to do is go over the minutes. Everybody look at the minutes. Any corrections, additions, deletions? If not, can I have a motion to accept?
Motion to accept the minutes on
July.
July 2nd.
Yes.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is public hearing, application 24-05WF, proposal by Kelco Construction Development to construct a mixed-use development within regulated wetlands and flood hazard zones at 466 Demon Road, 337 Berlin Turnpike, and 51 Worthington Ridge. Can I have a motion to open a public hearing?
Make a motion to open public hearing.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
My name is Sarah Castagliola, licensed EP on behalf of the applicant from BL Companies on behalf of Kelco Construction. Not much has changed since the last time I saw you guys, so I'll just give you a quick refresher of the site. This is the existing site survey. It's the three properties are 466 Deming Road, 333 Berlin Turnpike, and 51 Worthington Ridge. The wetlands are located along the southeastern edge of the site because of the Mattabasset River. And then the wetland boundary is where I just traced with my finger. And then there's also a flood boundary in a similar location. The project is going to keep this existing building and demolish a small portion of this existing building and then construct one new third additional building. Added colors. This is the proposed site plan, so you can see what's to remain of the first building, the remaining second building, and the new third building. Is this little one. The green line is the wetland limit. The pink line is the upland review, the 50-foot separation. Blue is the floodplain, and orange is our limit of disturbance. And the only disturbance occurring within the 50-foot buffer is due to some minor grading in this area and stormwater in this area. And then this is the proposed grading and drainage plan where you can just see the minor amount of grading and the pipes with discharge points just to meet the required invert to discharge the proposed stormwater system. And I'd be happy to go into more details of anything, but it's the same as what you saw here last.
What was the use of that building going to be? The bigger one?
This one, it's a mix of the rear portion will stay as a warehouse use, and then the front will be a retail use. But there's no tenant yet.
It was storage too? Did you mention there was going to be storage facility there of some sort?
It's just warehouse, so I'm not sure what type of warehouse use.
What's the traffic pattern for that then? Is there?
So there's off Berlin Turnpike here, there's a one-way driveway into the site, as well as a driveway off of Deming Road that is full access. There's a parking area in the front, which is like just parking only.
Yep.
And then in the back, there's a variety of existing loading docks that are.
Okay.
So these are already in place.
Yeah.
So that gray, I assume, is pavement.
Correct.
And how much of that is new?
It is about.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be gravel.
Yeah. It's all gravel, I think now, yeah.
Okay.
Part of it. Total, there's about 100,000 square feet,
Bituminous?
all between us. And some of this was paved already, because there was a small parking area in the front,
Right.
but it did get expanded. And same with back here, there was some gravel and like the existing bituminous extended to here initially.
There's Worthington Ridge that comes out, but where is that over there? I can't see.
So it doesn't exist anymore, but it did come out of the intersection approximately here.
So what happened to the two access to the property that's in back?
So the state basically terminated Worthington Ridge from this side, so it no longer functions. And I believe there is an access point somewhere else where business is further down the road.
Well, yeah, there's concrete block right about with that.
Yeah, no,
There's concrete blocks, you got it going.
go all the way around.
Yeah,
Yeah, the state terminated this portion
Yeah.
a while ago.
During construction, what are you gonna do to protect the runoff?
So we have a erosion control plan. Here. So we have a variety of measures, including the construction entrance off of Deming, material stockpiles, silt sacks, and along the wetlands, we have a silt fence that is backed with hay bales for extra protection.
any other questions?
No. Town agent has any concern?
Jim, you're okay with this proposal, right?
Yes, yes, I am at this point. As I had mentioned earlier, the impacts are minimal. There's, activity in the upland review area. The flood hazard compensation is been taken care of, so it's, the impacts are minimal.
Is there any other questions or comments for,
No, sir.
if not, then I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Yeah, Commissioner Rogan will make a motion to close public hearing of application 24-05 WF.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now have a motion to either accept or deny application 24-05 WF.
Okay, Commissioner Rogan will make a motion to accept application 24-05 WF.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You're all set, man.
Good to go. All right, regular meeting, application 24-06 WF, proposal by La Providence Realty LLC and Weezy LLC to construct commercial improvements both within both the flood hazard zone and upland review area on Lot 1 and Lot 1A, Block 28A, 11 New Britain Road.
Art Profane, Cole Civil and Surveying, recorrected. Representing the applicant, Art Shaler, who's the principal of the Force Equipment that he apologizes for not being able to make the meeting. But what we're proposing is to take their existing facility on New Britain Road, right at the town line, where Shaler Honda is now presently located in this yellow area, and propose a 7,400 square foot addition that will provide an area for people to drive in and have their vehicle serviced before taking the service areas into the back. This project has been ongoing for probably about 6-7 years. Originally, we were looking to do the addition here, but during COVID, Honda changed their whole scenario of how they wanted things done, and now they prefer they're coming over on the right side of the building. So there'd be drive-in areas here, there'd be quick lube areas here, and the existing service space back that would not change. But essentially, all traffic would flow through the site, come out, and people would pick up their cars on the other side. The site is peculiar because the site contains both inland wetlands and flood hazard zone. And before I finish, I understand we're probably going to have a public hearing on this,
yes.
so I won't go too far, but I just want to provide some documentation. Here's a letter, which you'll be getting a copy, Jim, in the mail, that stipulates that we have sent this to New Britain And New Britain will be dealing with their own activities on the Britain side of the thing, and that's the record. And I don't know if there's a wetlands report that was included, but there's a copy of the wetlands report done by Ian Cole. Ian found the wetlands. They're running along this portion of the site in green. This is where the Willow Brook flows through and across the New Britain Road over towards Willow Park. Associated with the brook, there is both floodway and flood hazard. The floodway is shown in this orange line, and the elevation is shown in the or the flood fringe is shown in this line at elevation 60. Now, here's something else I'd like to submit. There's a discrepancy between the Britain map and the Berlin map with regard to the flood elevation. And I just want to explain this to you before we have the public hearing, so in case there's questions that we can deal with. Some of them are in color, some of them are in black and white, but this is a copy of the permit within this area. And you'll note that on the Berlin side of the line, Honda is located right here. And this is on the Berlin side, you'll see the flood elevation 62. But you go right into New Britain, you see the flood elevation of 60. Basically impossible to go upstream and have a drop in elevation. And this is depicted on the flood maps that I've shown this to Jim before. But these are the profiles that come along with it. And you see what happens here is elevation 60, and at the end of Berlin, they've just arbitrarily brought that line up. So it's literally 4 or 5 feet above New Britain Road, which would mean that entire park area to the west would flood 5 feet of water. And that's impossible. Those of you familiar with the Willow Brook, it's not that big a flood storage space. But when you look at the New Britain profile, you'll see that all through the park stays at elevation 60. And that's the 100-year flood. So what happened was Berlin had their flood study done first back in the 70s. When New Britain in the 80s did theirs, they did a much more detailed study of the Willow Brook for the west end, towards Shuttle Meadow. If you know, it comes up behind New Britain High School and goes to the end of Arch Street. So they did a much bigger study. When they completed that study, they took the Berlin maps and basically raised them up at 2 feet. But when they did this little change here too. So what we've done on our plans with this elevation 60 is show this as being the true flood elevation. Obviously 62 is not correct. And we've stipulated, and Jim's kind of agreed, that if this is approved with 60, we'll go back to FEMA, ask for a map amendment, and have this all corrected on FEMA. So you guys won't get in trouble for proving something at the lower elevation in your flood maps. But I want you to have a presentation that showed the profiles, the ferment, the elevations, and how this whole thing was put together, and see that was obviously there's not a 2-foot drop between the flood elevation on this side to the upstream area down below on the park side.
So would you straighten this out with FEMA before we go any further?
Before we start building, we'll have to get a letter of map amendment.
Well, we can't actually do anything unless you do that first. Right?
No, I think you can approve it subject to us, and we put this on the plans that we are going to do this. We've also put in the application a stipulation that we will do this as part, so it can be a condition of the approval. But Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, but we talked about this maybe 2-3 months ago. We had this happen.
But does it make a difference that the entire building that you're building is in Berlin?
This portion of the building is Berlin. Is a small portion.
Right.
It'll be
I'm saying the addition that you're putting on is in Berlin. Are they going to say, well, wait a minute, we got to go with the Berlin elevations because it's in Berlin?
Well, hopefully they're going to see the error in their ways and they put together that. I looked across Newington and there's some areas, maybe a half-foot change in the brooks that run through Newington and the Berlin. But this is the most egregious difference I've seen in elevations. So I just wanted to explain that before we get into the public hearing. So if you had questions, you can relay them to Jim and staff, and we can get extra documentation for you. Or I can get you copies of the actual reports, but you should have a copy of the Burl's report. So that being said, we've got elevation 60 that wraps across the building like this and flows across in this area. So what we're doing are proposing to fill a small portion of that floodway so we can build the building above it and match existing building elevation. And what we're doing is proposing about 3,500 7-acre and about 1,500 square feet of material to be added to the floodway. We are proposing to mitigate area by moving a compensational area of material on the lower parking lot on this site so that we balanced out the flood storage loss between both sides. Now,
You're gonna expand the parking lot by lowering it? or you're gonna
parking
take
is
parking?
there already.
I
It's
know, I've
already,
seen it.
it's impervious. We're just gonna drop it down. We're only elevating this by about a foot and a half. So we're gonna make a comparable side here. Also, this is just curbed and runs right off. What we're proposing on the edge of this parking area is to put a bile strip so the water will run through and have some renovation before it runs off to the wetlands. So we're hopefully going to improve it. And we're also taking material out of the lower elevation. So we'll be able to compensate more for nuisance storms down in this area. This area is also oversized. So there's a small portion of Britain that may have a problem. So if the Britain overlooks that problem, we've provided enough volume in this because Berlin's going to suffer the consequences. So we'll be able to compensate in this lower parking lot area. Okay, there's also a small little sliver right here of area within the 100-foot or 50-foot upland review line. Here's the 50-foot line. I believe that is only 400 7-acre of size, and that's already impervious. And all we're doing is just taking from this grade to this grade and repaving. But we will be within the 50-foot upland review area, so we're including that in our activity. So we've got filling, mitigation, and activity within the buffer zone. We're not proposing any activity within the wetlands at all. All of our drainage is still going to come through an existing pipe and outlet that's located in this location. We're not making any changes. This site's already impervious, so we're not adding any more runoff. The only thing we're basically doing is just building a building, rearranging the parking. The added parking that we lost will be made up over on this side because now we'll have more room for parking and not so much for aisles and car storage, because this was originally the drop-off area for vehicles. It's a pretty straightforward plan. There's a lot of activity, but again, it's kind of complicated from the standpoint of flood elevations. And if you guys are uncomfortable with that or want to see more information, provide that information.
I mean, you're really not gonna be able to do anything until you get the revised
Right.
map from FEMA.
Right. Well, we want to make sure that
Right.
everybody's comfortable with it before we.
Right. Oh, I understand that, but
It's a condition of
Or that bottom corner where the pavement is, right?
Yep.
The parking space, are they removing that pavement and lowering it?
They're going to remove the pavement and lower, yes,
so
And
that
then repave it?
and then repave.
so that it leads to the question when they have new cars parked there, and I've seen it jammed.
Oh.
If they have an event, are those cars now going to be? in
Well,
the flood?
remember, this is a 100-year flood. So they're going to have plenty of time
Yeah.
to take those vehicles and move them out. At present time, that parking lot is empty.
Usually, but I've seen it.
But it has been full, but I think the new reality of life is that this lot is not going to be. So it's quite possible they might decide not to pay a portion of that when they end up building it and leaving it green. But I don't want to go through the possibility of having to come back to the commission payment. But like I said, it's not like the storm's going to hit 5 minutes and you're going to have a flood. Like with the tropical storm coming, 7 inches of rain. 7 inches of rain is, first of all, we'd have 3 days, 4 day notice, and it's not even going to fill the floodway. So,
Is that mitigation area in the upland review?
actually, it is. Good point. I didn't realize that. Yeah, I will amend our application. Yeah,
Yeah, you might want to
Yeah.
identify
Yeah.
the volume.
Didn't even think about it, but so focused on the front portion.
And that 60-foot elevation line, like that you have shown there, that kind of bends around the new building.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's after construction. That's where 60 feet. would
That's
be?
where 60 feet will be. This is where 60 feet is now, right along the edge of
Right,
the building.
okay, yep. So that mitigation area is pretty important.
Well, it's important any time yet. Again, I'll be looking forward to Jim's comments. I know I should have, but I kind of forgot that he was kind of laid up, so.
Well, I mean, again, we could ask all the questions you want, but I think wait till the public hearing.
I just want you to understand what we're doing here, so.
Unless you have anything that you want to ask Jim right now. I'm the upfront part right now.
Unless Jim has.
I'm gonna leave this with you
Yeah,
also.
okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I can say that Mr. Beauvais and I have had discussions regarding the discrepancies in the FEMA mapping and the flood elevations. Bart, it probably goes back 3-4 years ago, I think, with the previous application.
Last time we talked about 3 months ago.
Yeah.
But we have talked about it.
Yes, yep. And everything seems to make sense in terms, Mr. Chairman, of, what they're proposing. Yes, they will have to go back to get a letter of map amendment from FEMA before anything, any construction can take place there, so.
Will they be able to pull a permit without that? Probably not, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, if no other questions, can I have a motion to hold the public hearing on application 24 -06 WF?
And you should note, Mr. Chairman, excuse me, this is Attorney Capola, that public hearing will be held on Tuesday, September the 10th. You are meeting on the 10th, not the 3rd next month because of the holiday.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Can
made a motion.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. See you on the 10th, Bart.
Maybe. Maybe I'll get somebody else.
Next up is application 24-07F, proposal by Colvest Kensington LLC to construct a fast food restaurant and associated improvements within a flood hazard zone on lot 2A, block 84 at 1073 Farmington Avenue.
Good evening. My name is Peter LaPointe. I'm a project manager for the Colvest Group. We have been here before with this site. This was Mary's Pastry, and we substantially demolished that and reconstructed that as a small office building or retail building. Edward Jones was there for 5 years. He's relocated elsewhere in town. And Colvest would probably sit with that and try to market that building, except that Chipotle came along and we've got them at half a dozen other locations. And they said if we would build them their building on that site, they would lease it. In order to make all of this work, what we're proposing to do is develop the 1073 site, which has the dentist on one side of it. Wasn't this Hatfields at one point on the other side?
Oh, yeah, that was a long time
Yeah,
ago.
well, I'm old. And we will combine 1073 Farmington Avenue with 40 Porter's Pass, which is the back lot. And that gives us the ability to have what the regulations would call a drive-through lane. It's actually a pickup lane. And when we first designed it, we just had one lane of traffic because there would be a backup and pickup lane where you've already ordered, you've already paid, and they texted you and said your dinner's ready, come pick it up. But Chipotle wanted the kick-out lane, so that was the last change to the site plan, because they discovered that it takes people a while to learn that it's a pickup lane and not a drive-through lane. It's a speaker and a menu board, and you can order. None of which you can do with this lane. In order to combine the two parcels and give this tenant access to this driveway on Porter's Pass, we need to fill a portion of the back of the site and fill into this portion of Porter's Pass. I think the last time I was here, we filled this section behind CVS and behind the dentist's office to create additional parking for Starbucks and CVS. So we're going to continue that, and that means that we're filling in the wetlands. Actually, I don't know if I provided this with the application, but this is the calculation, and on the back, the drainage report from our civil engineer. And in essence, what he's saying is we're filling 404 cubic feet within the wetland area, within the floodplain area. There is no wetlands on the site. And I have one for you too. And we are proposing to excavate an area adjacent to the comp storage area that we excavated for the Starbucks park. Basically to the same elevation. A total of 453 cubic yards of material. So we end up with a net increase in flood storage of 48.95 cubic feet. In doing this layout, the object was to create a development pad on 40 Porter's Pass for some future use that's allowed in the zone. There is an automotive repair building back here, which we will demolish. The building that we just did in 2016, 2017, we will also demolish and construct a new building for Chipotle. The new building will be about 2,316 square. The parking will still be pretty much on the parking area as it exists today on the 1073 lot. The engineer is showing additional parking here to match the lot this way. But this gives Starbucks, CVS, and now 1073 full access to Porter's Pass. And when the future Porter's Pass parcel, which is all uplands, it's not in the floodplain, when it's developed, it will also use this driveway. The existing little bituminous driveway further down Porter's Pass will be closed, and we'll construct all new sidewalk across this frontage on Porter's Pass.
So you're going to close that road that behind the?
Yes. Well, people dumping stuff.
Right,
back
yeah,
there from time
right.
to time. I'd like him to clean. When I've got the site guy out there, I'd like him to clean this whole thing up, take down this chain link enclosure, get rid of the overgrowth, and make it look marketable.
Mm-hmm. Now, the dentist office isn't going to have access to Porter's Pass.
No, they're at a much lower elevation. We have to substantially fill it. We don't own that parcel.
Oh, you don't? Oh, okay.
Peter, that Chipotle is gonna have a menu board in the back?
No.
It's not, no menu board or
No
just?
menu board, no speaker. It's just a pickup. So you order by phone or online and pay that way. Most people seem to. Those of us who still use cash and dinosaurs. They'll text you and tell you when your dinner's ready, and you come pick it up and drive away.
Are you going to be able to go inside and order it?
You can do that too.
They're gonna have seating in here?
Excuse me?
Will they have seating in here? And,
Oh,
seating.
yes, absolutely. That's their primary business. Come in and sit down and eat.
Just like the one on the turnpike?
Yes. Or the one on the Silestine, that's ours too. We are requesting then your approval to fill this area of the existing floodplain, to excavate out this area, which I actually have. Print. It shows the fill area and shows the excavation area. And this is the comp storage area we created for the parking behind CDL.
That's the 48 square feet there. That's the net gain is that other section.
Right. This is.
Good, though.
So looking at the grading and erosion control plan, the proposed floodplain mitigation area. So that's going to be a depressional area.
Yes.
It's going to be recessed, looks like 3 feet from the contours.
Perhaps, yes.
And so what's the nature of that feature? Is it just going to be like a stormwater retention basin?
It is. What we had talked about doing was, this is an argument in-house. The way the civil engineer designed it, it's just open and we would have grass around it.
So it'd be
And
vegetated.
it would be, and my contention is if you do that, then I got weeds.
Okay.
What I'd like to be able to do is topsoil and seed all of this on the assumption that most of the time it's not going to have any water.
Okay.
And when they do the landscaping here and do the landscaping around CDS, send the guy back there and mow it.
Okay. So this would be a mowed area.
Yeah. And that's kind of the intent. So
Any sense on the underlying soil? Is it?
there's a lot of gravel. Yeah.
So it'll-
When they dug this area out, I kind of thought they'd hit clay almost immediately. And they didn't. They got a couple of feet of gravel. People were pushing in there for something.
So it's probably has some porosity to it then.
Yeah. And there was in front of the gas station building the automotive repair building that we're going to demolish, there was a paved area. So you've got to assume he had some kind of gravel surface. The pavement never had held up.
Any other question? Comments? Now, Jim, can we approve this if we want, or you recommend a public hearing?
At this point, based upon the information submitted as a part of the application, it's merely a numbers game of balancing the flood impact, which the applicant has done at this point. Actually, we're getting a little more flood storage out of it. So I don't see the need for a public hearing on it. You can take action on it because it's only a flood hazard app. It's not a wetlands application where you're required to, keep the app open for a minimum of 14 days. So it's at the pleasure of the commission, but from a staff standpoint, the numbers work, and we're happy with it.
All right. There's no other questions or comments? Somebody make a motion to either have a public hearing or accept what was presented.
I make a motion to accept application 24-07F.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Very good. Thank you very much.
Next up is other business came before this commission before. The first one is notice of violation on lot 2, block 127 at 552 Deming Road. Jim or Jennifer, whoever. Jim?
Obviously, the applicant is not in front of the board this evening. He was noticed of the meeting. I've had several discussions with our in-house staff in regards to progress and the direction the commission provided the applicant with back in, I want to say it was maybe June or May, where the commission requested the property owner to remove all of the excess materials that were in the floodplain / floodway as a part of a landscaping tree cutting business. along with requesting him to provide, or the property owner to provide, an as-built topographic plan, because we know changes have taken place within both the wetland area, upland review area, and the floodplain. And we have not heard a word from him in probably going on 3 months at this point in time. I can tell you, after talking to one of our commission members today about the application and progress, I actually dragged Bonnie out with me. She drove me over to the site, and it actually appears that he's brought the property owners, one of his tenants has brought in additional material within the floodplain / floodway of the site. And he just has not been cooperative at this point. And Attorney Capola and I have had a number of conversations regarding the next step in terms of advancing it, to try to get some type of cooperation from him. And Jennifer, if you'd like to elaborate at this point.
Jennifer, could you hear him?
Yeah, I was, excuse me, Mr. Chair, I was just taking myself off of mute. So yes, Jim and I last discussed this today. I think we also have on the zoning side, we have an issue of unapproved uses here occurring on the property. So what I did suggest was that we coordinate with zoning, further enforcement action. So that's the direction that we desire to go in at this point. Aside from the pile that was of initial concern, has been indicated, it appears that there continues to be additional materials brought to the site. We have a violator here that's been non-responsive. And regardless of whether or not it's a tenant engaging in these matters or the property owner, both will be pursued. So I think that we need to proceed with further action at this point, obtain compliance due to the non-responsiveness. So that's the recommendation. And if the commission is okay with that, that's what we will do. Whether we decide that our office is going to issue a final warning, if you will, and then we'll proceed with an injunction action to get compliance on both wetlands. And I have not talked yet about what their desire is, but again, the idea would be to get all the issues resolved at the property, all the issues of non-compliance.
Now, does zoning have a stronger case than we do, or?
I would not say that. No, I mean, I think violations are violations. And it's clear you have this circumstance. Again, you've been giving notice of the continuation of this matter on your agenda. Your clerk is very good about making sure that that gets distributed. It's being ignored. So opportunities have been given to come to the commission and have a discussion and propose a resolution, and that those opportunities have not been seized by the property owner. There's been nothing but disregard. So I think, you have to advance this at this point.
So Jennifer, what do you need from us? Do you need a motion to tell you to proceed? No,
we really don't. That's fine. As if there's any concern, any objection, if anybody would like to voice that at this point, then otherwise we'll proceed.
All right. Does anybody have anything else on this? If not, yeah, Jennifer, just keep us abreast of what's going on, and we'll go from there.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next one, notice of violation, 61 Still Meadow Lane.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I believe in your package that was distributed last week, you'll see a restoration plan that was submitted by the property owner for the disturbed areas on his site. I'll say this, he's been very cooperative from day one. I wish, we had property owners such as them to work with every day. It's a pretty basic restoration plan, but it will do the trick in terms of restoring the damage that took place. And the only thing that I would request the commission to do, obviously to accept the plan, but set a date for completion by, say, September 30th of 2024.
But as far as the plan goes, Jim, you're in total agreement with what they're gonna do?
Yes, I am. Yep.
Everyone look at it and see what. There's really not much to it, but it's, I mean, it's, how it's on that page right there, yeah. Yeah, that's it right there, yeah. So, I mean, if Jim is happy with the proposal, like you said, we should make a motion to accept the plans and have it set up and finished by September 30th. Somebody like to make a motion to that effect?
Sure. Commissioner Rogan will make a motion to the effect that on violation on Still Mill Lane, we accept the plan as proposed with a finishing date of September 3rd.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Very good. Thank you. Next, number 3. Notice of non-compliance issued to Kokomo Old Brickyard Lane LLC and Kokomo Brothers on July 12, 2024 regarding non-compliance of restoration plan for 212 and 245 Old Brickyard Lane approved by the commission on April 2nd, 2024.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think, again, you had correspondence.
Hang on.
You have in it, Tommy's here and Mr. Wayman. No, where's your name, sir?
Jared Sirocco.
Okay. Who are you here for?
I'm here to serve the event here with Tom.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
Yeah, what I was going to say is I know we distributed most recent correspondence regarding the violations on that site. We received correspondence from the abutting property owner whose property was actually disturbed. We sent off to you a copy of the non-compliance order that was issued to the owners of 212 and 245 Old Brickyard Lane. I think you saw there should have been in the package a response from that property owner saying, basically saying that he's not going to move forward doing anything else on the property. And I guess he made a few accusations that I wasn't actually happy about, but the facts are the facts, so.
Do you have anything to, as far as this goes?
We don't. Jennifer just got booted from Zoom, so she might be trying to.
Okay. Mr. Kokomo, I see you're here.
Yes. So the facts are the facts. And for a timeline, this was signed off in, I believe, April the 2nd, restoration plan.
Mm-hmm.
On April the 23rd, I wrote Jim an email. Attached is the wetland mix that was asked for. The chips have been removed by hand, raked. The hay sleeves are installed. And by Friday, we should be in good shape. And attached, and here's an email timeline. That was April 23rd. No response. May 6th, Jim, can you please send the plant list to me? No response. Phone calls in between. He was on vacation. May 7th, I respond, Lisa, can you please send the plantings? All work is done but the planting. No response. Lisa, I spoke to her in person. She said that Jim was going to get it. After that happened, I asked Maureen about a certificate of occupancy for the building, and Maureen said, you must restore the area. I said, I'm waiting for everything except for the plantings. And I've been in contact with the engineering department, and I haven't heard anything. So I came down here, and my brother got the planting list, and I went and I bought all the plants except for the pines. The pines need to be dug out for 6 to 8 feet, and they could not be dug out until September. So trying to be a decent person, I installed 3 to 4 footers, and I installed everything else that was approved as well. I met Jim at the site, and I explained it to Jim. I said, do I need to come to the meeting to see everyone in July? No, I'll handle it. He came here, and I'm not sure what happened. I didn't read the minutes. I don't care to. And I called the next morning and spoke to Lisa, and she said to me, I can't comment. You have to wait for Jim. So finally, on July 3rd at 2 o'clock, Jim wrote me an email and told me that it was voted unanimously by this commission to deny the request to allow substitute plantings in place of the 6 to 8s. They also deny my request for a bond. I had a conversation with Jim on the site. I said, in the past, when you do a subdivision or you do a site plan, and there's always bonding to be performed, or there's not always, but because the work has never been done, it's sometimes the intent of this commission or other commissions to say, for unperformed work, post a bond. If the person doesn't do the work, you revoke the bond and you do it yourselves. And he said he would ask you, and apparently he asked, and you said no. So I was really frustrated by that, and I did write an email that Peter, you were on, and I did make accusations. I think that they're fair and just. I feel that this commission acted to expedite Mr. Wayman's proposals, working in the upland review area, doing all sorts of things, and they expedited that, and they did concessions for him. All I asked was, I wanted a CO. I made good faith. I put in 3 to 4 foot plants because I couldn't get 60. I could get them in September or October, but I was looking, and on top of that, I said I'd post a bond. To me, it's fundamentally makes sense and should be no reason why you would say no, other than one of the accusations, it's a pound of flesh. And I stand by that comment. I stand by it so much because after that email, now I'm on the agenda for another one, another violation, which is very interesting to me. We'll talk about that one next. So I submit this email for the record. I'm sure everybody's read it, that I do feel like that the public trust is gone. I also took some pictures today of the site, and I'm sure some of you have driven by. I know Peter goes out of his way to do that. The germination has been pretty good on the planting mix, and the pines are growing, maybe not to 6 to 8 feet, but if there was a bond in place and they died at 4 feet, you can revoke the bond and install. I just feel as though it makes absolute no sense. I didn't ignore. I tried. I came here. I had a wetlands scientist. I was completely complicit. I cooperated the whole time. I had a wetland scientist who told you that there was really no effect to the wetlands. A negative effect was positive, in his opinion. I apologized to the neighbor. We hire a subcontractor that trespassed. That's passed. I wanted to do everything to make it right. It's germinating. It's growing. It's going to be as ugly as it was before. So it'll be fine. And I just don't understand why this commission made that decision. And and I would like to hear why. And if, I should have been here if that was the case, guys. I asked Jim. I didn't neglect. I take what you do very seriously. This is your time, and you do it voluntarily. Okay. Mike Cassetta's been doing it for 30 years, and he knows me well. He devotes his time to the town of Berlin. Peter, you've been doing it for a long time too. I respect what you do. I just don't respect that decision, and I was very upset because Why would you not accept the bond? It was, I went and I did everything but get the 6 to 8 footers. I mean, they're trees, they'll grow. And I couldn't get them until September. That's the funny thing. I can't get them until the middle of September when somebody could dig them out. So that's my case. You have the timeline now. And I'm disgusted.
Jim, Jennifer, any comments? I'm just looking at what was given, what we agreed on with you. I don't know about you contacting Jim. I don't know anything about you not coming to the meeting in July, or I don't know anything about that. All I know is what we have here. And you were, and there, you didn't finish what you agreed to originally. Listen, we are not here to get a pound of flesh. I mean, that's not what we're here for. You said it ourselves. We're here on our own. We're not getting paid for this. We have nothing to gain from doing that to you. I hope you understand that.
I do.
So all we can go by is what we've seen, what we're given. And from what I can see is that you did not complete what you agreed on. That's all I'm saying.
Peter, I respect that, but listen, you've been in the construction industry. Michael's been on my side of the table. There's always been substitutions. There's reasons for substitutions. There's, if you need a 3.5-inch nail, you make a 3.25 inch nail. You need a 6-foot pine, you get a 3-foot pine, and you're willing to post a bond. What I didn't do was say, this is Chinese sheetrock and put a bunch of crap in people's houses. That's not it. You're right. It says the 6 to 8, and it wasn't done. But the fact that those 3 straw bales were supposed to be in, they were done on April 3rd. Nobody inspected them. Then when we planted the trees, we moved them and put them down at the bottom. I mean, we were working to complete the task. And is it done exactly to the spec? No. But there's always room for negotiation. That's all I was saying. I can't get the 6 to 8s. I put 3 to 4s in, show you good faith, and post money. I spent thousands of dollars. You think I want to rip them out?
Understood. And again, I don't know what conversations you had with Jim and Lisa. If you couldn't get those pines, and you were told by your arborist or your landscaper they couldn't get them until September, why didn't you come to us, this commission, and say, guys, I'm willing to work with you, but and you didn't.
I didn't, and because I asked Maureen for the CO, and she said to me, "You got to restore this." That I wanted to. I didn't come to you, but I came here, and I don't know. They're the liaison to you. So I mean, we could go round and round. All I'm saying is I didn't. There's no neglect. There was no disregard, as Jennifer said, about the first person. There was none of that. It was trying to be a steward, and at the time offering more. And it was no. I mean, yeah, I said I did put it right. I'm not going back because I really want to know why. If I said to you, Peter, this commission, gentlemen, here's those trees would have cost me $400. I spent $200. I left the tags on. 2 times 8, $1,600. I'll put 24. I'll put all the money up. And if these things die and don't grow, to your point, then I have to do it. It blows my mind that we couldn't come to that solution. And it was just no. And especially when I said, hey, do you think I need to be there? I know I'll handle it. And I thought maybe listen, you could call me up and say, hey, the guys are upset, Tommy. You need to show up, show face. And I would have been, my ass would have been right in that seat this seat again.
I can't speak for what you and Mr. Harville talked about. All I know is what we have on paper. Like I said, that's we have to go on.
Mr. Chair, let's talk about what you have. Let's talk about what you have, because you have the email correspondence from July 3rd. in which Mr. Horrible notified Mr. Kokomo of what occurred at the meeting on July 2nd. And just for the record, this is Attorney Capola, counsel to the commission. And then you have an email exchange where Ms. Panessa, who is your clerk and also the clerk for the Public Works Department, where she sent the copy of the notice of non-compliance to Mr. Kokomo, and he responded with a very long email. Absent from, and you can review those copies. I think you have copies of them. They should be made part of the record, Ms. Panessa, if you will. But if you review those copies, nowhere does he indicate he was told not to come to the meeting by Mr. Horrible. Nowhere does he indicate that I'm looking at what he says with regard to the pine trees. Nowhere in there does he indicate that the species of pine trees was requested, or the height of the pine trees that was requested, that they were unavailable. And you know, all this stuff about I had this conversation and I had that conversation. A lot of it just doesn't jive with what's in these written submissions. But look, I mean, I think, you know, you're here to decide what to do. You have a situation of non-compliance. Are you satisfied with the fact that the species is not what was agreed to and approved? Are you satisfied with the fact that the height is not what was agreed to and approved? Are you satisfied with all the other aspects of it? As far as, you know, planning and zoning accepts a bond when all site work's not completed, that has nothing to do with this commission. That is within your authority of whether or not you accept a bond. You have a situation where you have non-compliance, so you're going to accept a bond and you're going to wait for compliance. That's not something I'm not hearing from this violator that he's proposing to comply with a period of time. He's basically telling you, and he's put it in writing to you now multiple times in these email chains. He said he wasn't going to show up. I'm very happy to see that he's here to have a conversation with you. That is a positive thing. So I'm not saying that's not good. Okay. What I'm saying is let's focus on the matter at hand. You know, all these accusations, frankly, you know, that's for you to determine whether or not they ring true and whether or not they have any bearing whatsoever on what's before you, which is a restoration plan that you approved a very short time ago on which you have non-compliance. And I think that you need to focus on again, you know, the notice is very specific. I'm sorry, I have COVID and I'm dying. It's the end of the day. So I may start to lose my voice a little, but I think you've got to focus on the specific matters of non-compliance in the notice that was received and determine, you know, what would you be satisfied with as the authority charged with protecting these regulated areas, okay? And you know, we could get into all this back and forth and you know, there's a pattern here of not complying and disparaging. That's apparent, but I don't think it's worthwhile. You may feel differently. Thank you.
I'm not going to define it, but if you want to go down the list, let's go down the approved list and of that plan.
Well, let me just go over what we asked you to do that you looked at. It wasn't done. Install 4 parallel rows, equally spaced of erosion control wattles from the pond's edge up to the top of the slope.
That was done.
It says here only 1 row was done.
Because all four once it germinated, we then replaced at the bottom and left that slope fence up there at the bottom. That was done.
When was
on April 3rd. when I wrote that email.
Okay, when you say you move them,
Once it germinated, we put the plantings in July. You can see there's still 4 of them there. And what we did was we put them all the way along the perimeter.
when was that done? July?
When do we relocate them?
Yeah.
When we put those plantings in. So he was here July 2nd, sometime in June.
Okay.
And that's why I asked on April 3rd, come take a look at that. And that's what we did. Now, again, Mr. Jackson will know better than I. Those are, I thought, erosion control, right? Isn't that sort of erosion control? So prior to that, we put the silt fence in, and then that was 4 of those. Boom, 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 all the way back. We did that, and they're still there. But we then removed them and put them back on the bottom once you got all the germination with the trees and shrubs.
Well, on July 22nd, we got a letter stating from the other that the hay bales were moved and there is evidence of erosion.
We can go out there now. They're probably they're still there.
Well,
okay, that's fine. But
I've been out there. I haven't walked the property, but I've been out there.
I would challenge that if we wanted to go. I am so confident I'll go out there with a flashlight tonight.
All right, this next one. Install plans described and located on a sketch plan dated November 13th, 2023, which the sketch has been incorporated and made part of the commission's decision. The wetlands agent shall confirm the type and size of planting prior to installation. Planting shall be installed by no later than June 15th, 2024. Plants shall be warranted by 212 Old Brickyard Lane to survive through June 15th, 2025. And it's now that was what we were supposed to do. Here's what we have as a finding. Plantings of the species, type, and size required have not been installed. The wetlands agent was not contacted prior to installation to confirm the type and size of plantings, and the plantings were installed after June 15th. In addition, certain plantings were not in the proper location.
I don't know the date of, maybe it was June 18th, but let's check Jim's schedule when he was on vacation, and then I can tell you that because I was trying to go right up against that time, June 15th. So, when you say, yes, the pine, the size, and the species was deviated from, okay, the pines. Those other ones, the size was not deviated from, but the type was. But the landscape, or the landscape company told me that the same species, same wetland species. So, I mean.
Okay, and again, don't you think that we should have known? You should have contacted us and said, listen, I can't get that, but that's different.
Well, I did put it in writing and I get nothing back. And I to Jim, it's right there. And I tried to talk to Lisa. She's the sweetest person you ever meet, but she doesn't like to get involved. She talked to Jim. Jim, where's Jim? He's away.
Okay, and here's the last one. In the performance of the restoration work required by photographs 2 through 5, above there was nothing located within a 6 foot of the common property boundary to interfere with installation of a chain link fence along the common boundary line. The installation of any required plantings within such an area shall occur after the chain link fence is installed. As indicated above, certain plantings were not in the proper location and appeared to be located within the 6 foot.
There is one that's very close to 6 foot now. I mean, it was a hand sketch. There's no scale. I mean, that's like splitting hairs. I mean, I think there was asked for, say, 20 plants with that. Now one's dead, so I can place that one with a 6 to 8 come September. I mean, you're right, but I didn't come here. But I mean, well, I'm here now.
Let me ask you, Mr. Goodwin, what do you want from us?
What I wanted to know was if you last in July the 2nd, if there was an issue, you said, you know what, Tommy, absolutely not. I want common courtesy. You're giving it to me now. I had to march my little butt down here to see Jim, and I did confront him, and I said, what's going on? Because, Well, Jennifer says, you know, take it as a word. Me, Jim and I met him at the site on the 2nd of July, out at the site. And I had a very pleasant conversation with him out at the site. We spoke about his dad's building and he's got a tenant and all sorts of stuff. And then I come here and I don't come here and then I get that. So yes, I was upset, very upset. I'm still upset. What do I want from you? Tell me what you want from me. I can't put things in till September because I can't get to 6 to 8 footers.
Well, I wouldn't recommend planting anything now this time right now anyways because of the weather. But and again, guys, I'm speaking for myself. If anybody has anything to say, please speak up. I want what you agreed to on the original proposal. That's what we want. We want you to restore it the way we talked about, the way you agreed to back. And if you do that, I think we'll all be happy. But, you know, I mean, I don't, and.
That was what your neighbor wanted too.
Right. Right.
All right, so then you're gonna have to grant me, like you said, through October, and we'll replace the trees. I'm willing to replace the 3 to 4 foot pines. If that species that he's exactly looking for, you have to give me some deviation as long as they're 6 to 8 feet. If it's something very close, I'll put those in. I have to have some flexibility with that, okay? And the other ones are the size, and they're not far off. I can get you a letter that says the other 12 or 13, however many of those are, that comply with what you're requesting. There's always, I mean, I can't say always, but there's always some ability to be flexible on wetland plants.
Is there any way of adding additional pine trees without moving the old ones? I mean, I don't want to go through the extra work of taking the other ones out and putting new ones in. If you added additional ones in between there somehow.
Makes sense. Appreciate it. Maybe replace the dead one with the 6 to 8 and then infill some like Mike says with 6 to 8. And make sure I'm 6 feet off the property so it doesn't get
I mean, and what about all the other, you know, again, you know, you say those, the bales, the wattles were put there and now they've eroded and everything else and you move them.
No, they haven't. And so, and everything's germinated. That's why I sent you pictures. There's no germination.
Right. But what I'm saying from the letter from, you know, the other owner is that he doesn't think they're doing anything. He's saying that there is erosion. And what about the plantings that are in line for the fence? He said there's more than one, I think.
I mean, if Jack was a string line, Jack is my surveyor, was a string line on the property line, and they're not if they're 6 feet away, I'm not going to move it. If they're 5 feet away, then I'll move it. I think if there's only one.
So it says here, the plants, plural, are not to be located within a 6 foot property line to allow for installation of the fence. He's saying, you know, again, I have to go on what we're told. Jim, do you have any comment as far as what we're looking at? If we extended to mid-October, that he put the right pine trees in and set everything up, you know, in a way that they could put the chain link fence in, and the other shrubs, he's saying are close to what was originally called for.
We can certainly work with that. As you had mentioned, Mr. Chairman, now is not the time to replant or plant, you know, large vegetative type items. Typically, the state's planning period by DOT is August 15th to October 15th. So, you know, any date you would like to choose in that time frame certainly would seem to make sense.
Now, you inspected the other ground cover, Jim. Is that close to what we were looking for? Is it in the same field or?
Oh, as far as the bushes or shrubs, they are in the same family of vegetation that was requested, and I could certainly live with that. But again, you know, is the approval letter of the restoration plan, it specifically called for, you know, the agent to be notified and inspect the plantings prior to the installation, which certainly never occurred. I also sent an email, which I don't have with me right now, but I'm sure we can resurrect it, when Mr. Kokomo requested the list of the plantings that were sent to him as a part of the original approval. I want to say that was sometime in mid-May. Lisa actually forwarded the approval letter with the planting description in the plan of where they were to be installed, you know, a second time to Mr. Kokomo. So I just want to clarify that for the record.
Oh, and what about the wattles and stuff like that? Is that, I mean, are they?
The site is the site, you know, at this point in time, the weed growth has taken over. I haven't been there in probably 3 or 4 weeks now at this point, being away.
Yeah.
But
That's last time I was.
I'm assuming it, you know, the weed growth has taken over, and that will help to stabilize the site.
Jennifer, do you have any, you know, I mean, I just assume not get into a legal battle if we don't have to. If we can get Mr. Kokomo to rectify the situation and get it acceptable to us and to the other property owner, I'd rather do that.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. I mean, you know, compromise of both parties is also always rather in the best interests. Absolutely. I think when it comes to plantings, I've learned a lot about plants. You know, being a land use lawyer now for 25 years, and you know, I've learned that you know, certain species are selected, whether it's because of their growth patterns or how they maintain their needles, sun exposure, you know, a variety of things. And you know, I've seen planning and zoning have a discussion about the different types of pines, and that certain species hold needles better, and they grow in a more regular pattern, and so on and so forth. So, you know, I kind of defer to you folks and your experience and your knowledge and what you've learned. But I think that as far as replacement of the pines, you know, that obviously is what bears consideration. Is, you know, the purpose of them in this circumstance, and what species is best suited to meet those purposes.
And let me just, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna
Go ahead.
jump ahead.
Go ahead.
I like Commissioner Cassetta's idea. I think, to me, it sounds like there's been a lot of good stuff said. You got to get stuff 6 feet off the property now. I don't know if that's shrubs or pines. It's a bigger deal if it's the pines. But you got to get 6 feet off the property. And I like the idea of adding, I would throw out 4 additional pine trees, 6 to 8 feet, do it by October 15th, and warrant them till next October 15th. In other words, if anything dies, got to replace it in kind. Do you know?
It's a pine. It's a pine. That's on the property. So that's.
It's a pine that's within 6 feet.
Very close to 6 feet.
Well, let me just, I know you guys have this letter too. It says here, 3 of the undersized plants,
Fine.
well, are located on the property line, making it impossible to erect the fence. He's saying there's 3.
I think it's 1, but if it's 3, I'll have it. I'll straight line. If it's 3, we'll relocate.
And it says,
I mean, if it's 5 feet, I'll move it over a foot.
and it says the picture of the property corner stake in the forefront of, and a telephone pole in the backyard is approximately located of the property line of reference. This thing.
Yep.
And it says only 2 of the 3 plants on the property line can be seen, and the 3rd is by the telephone pole.
No. Jim did count them, so he'll tell you that.
Okay.
Him and I were there to count. He told me there was the adequate amount.
How many was?
I think it was 8 or 9.
Okay, yeah, okay. I mean, listen, we want to get this straightened out. We don't want, I don't know how the rest of the commission feels, but what Mike said and what Rick said, if we can get you to plant in between, to move the ones that are, within the 6 feet, so they can put the fence in. You have to move those, you gotta move.
Yeah, that's fine.
If you,
Is there a dispute on the property line?
No, not at all. What he's mentioned is exactly what's staked.
All right, so
And-
that should
and we
be
had it
easy.
stringed out. Yeah, we had it stringed out.
Sorry.
but again, if you go and you survey it again and find that you have to move them, we want you to move.
Yeah.
And if you could put in something, and if you could give us some information about what you're planting before you plant it, so we can say, okay, that's in the same field, the same species, that's good to go. And we'll give you to October 15th.
I will, since Jim said August 15th is
The start date.
the start date, your next meeting is when?
September 10th.
September 10th.
September 10th, I will have, before September 10th, if there's a deviation on the species, I'll have it here to this commission
Okay.
And the size.
and the size.
Good, Bill?
I have a couple of questions. Who prepared the restoration plan and specified the Austrian pine?
Neighbor.
The neighbors?
Yeah.
Okay. And why was the Austrian pine specified? What are they, why that particular
That's
individual?
my, so that's what my wetlands agent said, makes no sense. And when I went over to Dunning Industries to buy it, we don't have them.
Okay.
Therefore, I don't know, maybe he knew they were impossible to get or very expensive. That's my inclination.
All right, so now I'm understanding that this particular individual pine tree, the Austrian pine, is not available. Is that
Not at the time when I spoke, not at the time when I purchased it.
okay? Did the nursery indicate future availability of this particular species or this particular individual?
Dunning, was on Route 4, or was building on Route 4 in Farmington, and has theirs on Old Brickyard Lane in Farmington now, told me they don't have Washington. Now, they may, I don't know if they're going to get them, but that's who I use for all my landscaping.
Well, I know we're talking about deviation here, but it seems to me we have to understand why what is the characteristic of this particular Austrian pine that we are trying to to value and to determine that the existing, what is it, Japanese pine? The existing pine is not. What is the distinction between these two pine trees? Because we're talking about deviating from the restoration plan further to accommodate additional pine trees, and it seems like we need to understand the characteristic that we are looking for, whether it be height or its pattern or what.
All I can tell you is that Dunning said they didn't have Austrian, but they had something in the family, the Japanese, but that they only had 3 to 4 footers because 6 to 8 are not in pots and they're planted and they didn't have them to dig them out. So I got the 5 gallons. I don't know. I can ask Ian Cole, who is my soil scientist, if he would, if there's something, and I'm willing to do that and offer that as well. That's where I feel like you're right. But is an Austrian pine a wetland pine tree, in your opinion?
I don't have an opinion on that. I don't have knowledge of.
So Tom, who, you saying your neighbor wanted?
Wayman.
He wanted the Austrian
Yeah.
pine. Did he say why he wanted those?
No, and there was no pines there.
So if you find a substitute that's comparable to that Austrian pine, would that be okay?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you can get information from your Dunning and say, listen, this is what Austrian pine does. We're going to give you Japanese pine. They will do the same thing. They'll grow to the same height. They'll spread whatever it is. But tell us why. I mean, we're putting it on town only to.
The problem is, if his neighbor says, no, I want that, then what do we do?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is if you tell us,
You have
maybe
to-
we can go back to them and say, listen,
this is
we can't get them. And I mean, you're right, they put, and here's the problem, Tom, is that they made this, restoration plan. Unfortunately, you agreed to it.
I know, I should have put a caveat that something close, and I'm a fool. When I was down here, I was trying to be a good neighbor, a good town. I was with Jennifer and Jim in Chambers, just trying to get it done.
Well, let me ask you this, and I, as chairman, and I'm sure Jim will work with us. If you can get us the information on the difference of the pines and I'll even go to the
Nursery.
to the other owner.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you
I'll
what
contact him.
I'll tell you what I'll do, Peter, and I appreciate it very much. Thursday or by Friday, I will have it to you. I will go down. I can't go tomorrow, but I will go down there on Thursday.
If you can get it, and that way we can get
I got it.
we can go to the other property owner and say, he cannot get these Austrian pines. This is what his landscaper says is in the same field. It's going to do the same thing. Will you accept it?
Okay, perfect. That's why
So
I'm here.
what happens?
Did you ever consider going to Colbert Nursery? They're much bigger.
Right?
Well, they're all over the state. They're not just in Meriden. They have a huge.
And that's why, Mike.
Maybe I'll check them out on Thursday.
That's why, Mike, I want if he can get it to us as soon as possible. Well, Mike asked the question, says, what if we give it to them and they say no?
What's the opinion of the rest of the commission on the idea of not ripping out what's already planted, adding maybe 4 of the Austrian pines?
I think that's
because that's another deviation that the other owner might.
Exactly.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We got to get as much information to them as we can and present it to them saying, listen.
But is that idea acceptable to
It's
everyone?
acceptable to me. His problem was everything was clear, but he wanted more. He's gonna get more.
So yeah, the point is communicate before you start putting shovels in the ground and writing checks for pine trees.
Jim, is that acceptable to you?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine with me, whatever the commission's comfortable with.
So
And
we
Jennifer,
do, if I
comfortable
may,
with that?
so we do have some internal information with regard to plantings. I know that there was a seminar that some folks attended with regard to trees, and trees that were in jeopardy of extinction and so on and so forth. So I'll take a look at that. I think I do have actually that saved in the network. As far as reaching out to the other property owner, remember that one of the partners, I believe he's a partner that's involved, is Attorney Martino. I'm happy to reach out to him. I think that would be more appropriate, Mr. Chair, for that to occur through council, so that way, or that they could be invited to come to the next meeting.
Well,
Is the other.
What I want is I want to get this. I want to get the okays from them as soon as possible.
Yes.
So Mr. Kokomo and his crew can go out and either order them or do what he has to do to get them. Because, if we wait till September 10th and we're giving Tommy till October 15th, that's just not enough time. I don't believe it's enough time.
Well, to potentially have to order if there is the need to order any particular trees, yeah. I understand, yeah.
If Tommy gets us the information to me and to you and to Jim, and you contact the other parties, and they say, yeah, what he's looking at is that's fine with us, that just resolves everything we're looking for.
Yes, I agree.
I think letting Peter get involved in this, Chair get involved in this helps to expedite this thing. It could be a good emissary to get this done.
But again, this is an enforcement matter that's before you. And really, things need to take place in the public meeting setting. I think it's more appropriate for staff and council.
I'll hear the legal expert, I'll let you take care of it. But I'm more happy to talk to any parties to get this resolved as quickly as possible.
But if it's an enforcement of this commission, doesn't this commission have the authority to deviate?
Well,
It's this commission.
we're going to deviate on the plans and things like this, but let's go with, let's get them the property, the proper way. and we'll go from there. Are
I'd
you,
like to do it as soon as possible. I've changed my tune when I see your pretty face.
now, do we do a motion or anything like this to say, or you're gonna take care of that first?
So I think we talked about, I just wrote down too, we do have this issue of moving the plantings off of the property line by 6 feet, any that are currently installed, so that the chain link fence can be installed by the other property owner. So perhaps you want to make a motion that includes that, as well as that if necessary, that Mr. Kokomo will appear at your September 10th meeting, because if there is a disagreement about what should be planted, and we identify that there's a disagreement, I think we want to give him, as well as the owners of 245, an opportunity to both address you on September 10th at your meeting. So if there's not an agreement between the affected parties beforehand, I think you should also move that the parties appear on September 10th to address the commission with regard to their respective positions, so that way the issue of the plantings can be resolved. So I would recommend a motion with regard to those 2 items.
Just say so.
Jim, do you have to go back out there and review the location of the plantings?
Yes, I will have to, yes.
Okay. And you would have to determine where that fence line is?
Yes, it sounds like Mr. Kokomo is gonna have his surveyor reestablish that boundary line. He was talking about string lining it. And, once that's done, it's pretty simple to determine, where the 6-foot offset is.
So, the motion should read, first of all, with both parties will appear at the next meeting.
If an agreement could be reached before.
Right, yes.
Both need to notice that
Right.
September.
Right. If there's an agreement before that, right. And all plantings will be done between August 15th, which you're not gonna be able to do, Tom, because you're not gonna have it, and October 15th.
That's fine.
And as we go along, we would like something in writing from your surveyor saying that, yep, this, that's a tree, 2 trees are in the way and we have to move them. All right? So that way we have that on record that he went out there and did that. Anything else? Anybody want to make that motion? Speak up.
Sure, I'll make the motion.
Of what was just said. And second?
So removed. Second.
All in favor?
Right.
Right. Tom, as quick as you can get the information.
I will, Thursday.
All right.
This next one, this one like this.
All right, the next one, notice of violation.
All the meetings.
398 Chamlin Highway.
All right, so quickly, don't know what the violation's about, but I do know that Jim, about, I don't know, 4 months ago said that the neighbor was making complaints and he wanted me to get a soil scientist out there. I did get a soil scientist out there on June the 8th. I have his report. I'm going to submit it here. You guys probably can review it and do whatever you need to do. I also have an email, just a couple emails, because Jim did make me back in March. As we spoke last week, it'd be helpful to receive a statement from you regarding Cole's preliminary work as scheduled details, analysis, additional work regarding the Garden Center site at 398 Chamlin Highway. I'm anticipating this topic to come up at this meeting. I'm not sure if it did. So he did make me aware in March. In May, I said, good afternoon, Jim. I spoke to Ian. The wetlands are marked, which Ian is my soil scientist, Ian Cole. You guys have seen him here before with other people and myself. So I have the wetland report. I didn't come before you because, and I'm just going to show you the plans now, that site was a garden center. went to planning and zoning to keep the garden center open. Ms. Capola was there. The planning and zoning said, we would rather see houses here. We don't want to see the commercial activity. So we dropped the garden center use, and we're going to develop the land at the 3 lots. I got that, and I was going to, and we're not ready to come before you, but I have a 3-lot subdivision proposal showing on the maps here, the wetlands that I'll leave for you, the upland review area, and the proposal that I'm going to bring forward to you probably sometime in September, maybe October. You have Ian's report. He's delineated the wetlands. You've got it on a survey map here. I feel, Ian said, I mean, I don't really want to read it in and take a lot of time, but there's some wetlands that are consistent with the wetland maps that are on the town website. The flag wetland area is quickly a picture here. Everyone, you could view on the northerly corner and the southerly rear corner of the property. We've taken that into consideration, and
Right, so this is the existing conditions that are there now.
that's existing conditions, correct. The house is in the process. Permits have been pulled for all sorts of renovations. We're going to come forward with 1 lot for the house, a 2nd lot to the adjacent of it, and a rear lot. Keeping everything out of the wetlands, out of the upland review area. There was some disturbance in the upland review area. It was a garden center, so they were driving around back and with their little machines and so forth. So there was some disturbance that's in Ian's report. But I feel as though, and Jack Gilmartin and our engineer and Ian feel as though the time to address it is because we're going to be in front of you for an application for a 3-lot subdivision, and he'll come talk to you about the disturbance in the upland. He said in that report says it doesn't look like there's much disturbance in the wetlands, and how we can mitigate it. There's been like some millings in the upland review area here, so how we can pull it back and get termination. But that's all going to be part of our subdivision.
But the violation was regarding fill in the wetlands.
Right, and I have the report. That's so, and I don't believe in the report it says fills in the wetlands, maybe in the upland review area.
Well, I have 2 things here, one from the Berlin Land Trust and one from a neighbor,
Right.
who said they especially the neighbor, they've counted over 20 trucks, dump trucks, dumping in the back there.
Right, he said that at planning and zoning, and he also said, Michael, I know it was you on the bulldozer, Michael, I saw you up there, Michael. So that's the neighbor. I'm well aware of the neighbor. And that's, I mean, if you like, and I don't want to play the game, but maybe you should do a little violation on the neighbor's property, because there's been some encroachment in those wetlands too. Those 2 could play at that game.
Jim, Jennifer, any comments?
So I guess the question is, are you satisfied with waiting as he's proposing? It sounds like there's an admission here that there are violations. And he started his comments by saying that they could potentially put something before you on September 10th. Maybe again, Jim and I are at a little bit of a disadvantage because we're not seeing the report that was just submitted from June. Maybe want to ask that the wetlands professional actually appear at your September meeting, so you could have an understanding of specifically what the findings were.
Well, of course, I'm not going to guarantee September. I'm hoping September, number 1. And the admission, there is no admission on my behalf of any disturbance by me, my brother, who is Michael, or anyone from my facility. I bought the property about a year ago. If there was a disturbance, it was free, and I understand that I inherit disturbances. I appreciate that, but there's no admission of me whatsoever, or my brother whatsoever, going into the wetlands or any of that. The only thing we've done on that site was it was blighted, and we've cleaned it up. So I can't pronounce the word right now, but, I deny that.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Have you seen this from the land trust?
There's the same picture that my guys got, same picture.
But I mean, they're saying that there was stuff dumped and it's stopping the flow of the water.
Well, I think that, like I said, there's accusations, and when was that done? Was it done 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago? I don't know. I just took ownership, and we're going to be before you, like, for an application, and I think Jennifer's right. We'll have our soil scientists there, and I'm sure you can invite Attorney Kern, and they can have a discussion and do further tests if necessary. But I do believe if there is, and like I said, if I inherit the problem and there is anything in the brook, or is that what you're saying? Yeah. In the brook, we can make remedies part of the application. That's common, right? When you have a wetland area, just like today, you know, with your previous application, so we're going to move soils here, move soils there in the wetlands. So if there is some impact on the wetlands that was done in the past, I'm sure we can
You're not wrong about any of that. The issue I think that we have is that I'm sure you can also appreciate, you're in the business, that, you know, construction development plans get delayed.
Oh, yeah.
In the meantime, we've got an existing, at least accusation of a violation. So would you be willing to have Mr. Cole come and discuss his report for us at the next meeting, regardless of your application for development, because we want to resolve a potential violation sooner rather than later.
Yes, I would.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good. So I don't want to speak for him if he's available, but I'd be happy to email him and CC Jim for you and say, hey, can you?
And it may be that even after that, we might need our own expert, but that's a good place to start.
And I think Jim and Jennifer both should get this report, as also all the members of this commission.
Yeah, we haven't seen
I'm going to provide. What I'm doing is providing that.
Yep.
To this commission, and then you know, Lisa can.
So you're going to submit this right now?
I'll submit that right now. Yeah. And I'm not going to submit the plans. I just want.
No, we don't want that. We want what your soil science.
Yeah.
And and please just emphasize to Mr. Cole too, that Mr. Kokomo, that he can participate remotely, either via Zoom video conference or conference call. If he's at another meeting, needs to cover another meeting or whatnot. He does have that, you know, remote ability. So that's important, I think, if he has any comments.
So again, hopefully we averted another legal precedent or legal application, whatever you want to call it, if we can get this resolved.
What is this commission's, I guess, can I just sling some accusations on anyone, perhaps say, hey, I think Peter's filling his wetlands and you guys go and do some due diligence? Is that the process?
Well, I mean, I don't like you saying this slinging, you know, but if we get 2 letters and one of them is from, you know, a pretty.
Yeah, Attorney Kern, yeah.
Yeah, you know, no, this wasn't even from Attorney Kern. It's from the land trust, but he was not involved in this. And they went out and they walked the site and they took pictures, and this is what we got back from them. Now they're a pretty reliable organization. They've been doing business in this town, or business. They've been, you know, running their trust, land trust, for quite a long time. So they're pretty reliable, you know, and we have to, if you get enough complaints, we got to go out and check.
I'm just asking because this parcel, right, that has the brook running through the back, or not running through, it's on the back border, if you're looking at the parcel of property to the right, that substantially has the wetlands on it, and substantially looks like it's been filled. And then you take a look at the other guy who complained as well, and the same. Now, I mean, what's good for the goose? Maybe the land trust should go right to the land trust and say, hey, maybe the root of the problem is upstream, or look downstream and see. I mean,
Tommy, we are not going to go out and find things. We're not going to go out and look for them. If somebody contacts us, yes, then we have to do our due diligence to make sure that they're not, that things aren't being done improperly.
well, then I guess that I'm going to ask that this commission be basically get a couple of Jason.
Well, then you can contact us through a letter and, get a hold of, it goes to Jim first, and then Jim will come to us.
I appreciate that, because that's, I mean, I've been fighting this, neighborhood watch through planning and zoning for the past 6 months, and it's just, again, I got a target on my back.
Jim and Jennifer, are you okay with waiting the results of Mr. Cole and wait until the next meeting to go over all this?
Well, certainly. I mean, I think you've received a report that you did not have before. I think you need an opportunity to review that before you direct staff and council to take any further enforcement action on this. As you know, anyway, the status of this was, and we were going to report to you because of the timing of the circumstances of the fact that, the cease and desist has to issue within 10 days of when the desired show cause hearing is to be held. So we had that to contend with, which is why the show cause hearing was not scheduled for tonight. We were planning to report to you that we were intending that the cease and desist order would issue the day after Labor Day on the 3rd for the show cause hearing to be held at your meeting on the 10th. But I think given the submission of the report and the alleged violators representation, that he will inquire of the soil scientists to attend on September 10th and answer any questions that you have, again, whether that's in person or remotely, then it makes sense to continue the matter and give you an opportunity to review the report, and the soil scientists the opportunity to come and talk to you about the investigation he conducted and answer any questions that you have. So again, that's the way these things should proceed when there's when there seems to be movement towards resolution.
Jim, are you okay with that?
Yes, certainly.
All right.
I'll call Ian and we'll get him an email.
Yeah, I mean, I know Jennifer said remotely, but I'd rather have him here.
I'll try to get him here.
And anybody else has any?
Again, no disregard, cooperation 3 months ago, or whatever the date was, June. So over exactly 2 months ago, I've been doing.
Well, let's hope we get it resolved in a peaceful manner and everybody's happy.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Any correspondence? Lisa, Jim, Jennifer, anything?
Nothing other than what was in your package.
Okay.
So
Lisa?
the Khaki-Wick annual meeting is coming up in November. I'll send you a link because they're starting, the scheduling as far as speakers, the environmental conference piece, and the annual meeting. So you may want to take a look at that if that interests you. I think the date of that is Saturday, November 16th. Sounds right to me. So just look for that in email.
Lisa?
Margaret Cameron has applied to be a possible wetlands commissioner.
Oh,
And so when I found out, I was jumping up and down. Said, please just come and observe all these men and see if you want to be part of it. Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for.
I mean, you know, you have to go to the town clerk and,
She submitted the application.
Oh, you did? Okay.
There's no August meeting. It would be, and they typically don't appoint until the second
right.
council meeting of the month, and so, you know, it could be a little while before she's accepted.
But I mean, if you want to come to the next meeting and sit in and just listen and take everything in and be prepared for when you do get seated, you're more than welcome.
And she helped me get online, so
That's a good thing.
and we appreciate your being here tonight.
Just in case, yeah, just in case. If Jim and Jennifer, you have nothing else?
No, nothing, nothing from me.
Motion to, and any other comments or anything about what happened? If not, make a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
8:53. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Jim. Feel better, and thank you, Lou.
Feel better, yeah.
See you.
Good luck.